Enough greetings and blessings to everybody. I hope that you're all just fabulous. I wanted to talk about inner childhood traumas today. Well, whether you have watched any of Stripped to the Naked Truth podcasts, where I have been, I would like to say, downloading a few of the past traumas of life that I've gone through, but better yet said, what we can do about traumas that we have encountered to become the better person we are meant to be. We really are truly exceptional beings. The more I think about how miraculous this whole entire idea of a body, mind, consciousness, and how we can utilize ourselves in the world, it is a pretty big deal. It's phenomenal amount of opportunities that we can just dive into and change our reality. So today, the inner child idea just came up because I was thinking about what are some of the things I did in my life with all I've gone through. And I know there's so many people with even more traumatic stories. I've been talking to people. Oh my God. I can't wait to get to the part of the podcast where I'm just interviewing people about their lives as I am purifying and allowing myself the time and space to establish myself to me. I remember I said that Stripped to the Naked Truth is where we are going to strip down our own self to discover our own inner dialogue, those subconscious programming that, as we know, subconscious programming happens when we're younger, in our more formative years. So they're all news. They really are. Subconscious programming are programmings that we put there because we needed to protect ourselves in some way. And to just learn our own perimeters, our own boundaries. But as we grow in life and gather experiences, this changes, absolutely changes. And so today for the inner child healing, I kept thinking about, wait a minute, what are some of the things that you did that really brought you change? And one of them that came about was, of course, affirmations. And I remember in 1998, I'll never forget it, is when I first started reprogramming my mindset by applying affirmations. And those days, now from this vantage point, I have to say, my God, I was brave because I was so far away from feeling any of that to be true, the things I was affirming, that is. So one of the examples, I remember being in some kind of, it was like a fair, I don't know if a gathering of some sort in Hollywood. And it was just like a basic outdoor gathering of people selling items, and you would go around and just have a great time. And while walking around that particular place, I vividly remember reprogramming my mind. I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. Now, this is something I constantly use, even today, because I just think it's one of them. The I am is so profound, how it brings things into the subconscious, because that's where all the juicy stuff is happening, That's where your life is being created from. And that's why sometimes when it happens to us and something happened in our life, we're like, I wonder, how did this happen? Because we don't recognize it as our conscious way of being. But because the subconscious mind is running from the space of our past programming, it brings to us more of what is our own news, And so today I was like, wow, so affirmation was one of my biggest way of programming my mind or reprogramming it. The podcast, funnily enough, Stripped to the Naked Truth, is a form of, again, what I call excavation. And excavation to me is when we purposefully go into our psyche and take out the gunk, or look at them like you turn the pages of a book and you gaze at them and say, discard. I delete, like a computer. Just think of yourself like a computer. Delete, 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 delete. And then there's some you're going to come across that you just absolutely adore. Like, oh, wow, I like that about myself. Save, save, save. This is the way I was teaching kids this back in like early 2000 or so, that you can program your mind and that we are computers and we can do this and we can do that with it. And so I think, again, affirmations is one big one. Obviously, there are more. Once you open up the, I would say, gateway to anything, in this case, we're talking healing. Once we open up those gateways, guess what? Now we're attracting other modalities in our lives. It's just what happened. You don't even have to go so hard to go seek it, you know? It just starts to presenting itself to you as other things you can do, whether through friends or through community. These things turn up. And once you take the time to begin to study, I'm an avid studier. To be honest, I like to get in the books and listen, more audio than books anyway. I don't like reading as much anymore. And I never really did like reading, to be, funnily enough, not in the traditional way, but I ended up over the years starting to understand that it was very necessary. And so more so when I started reading, I would say in my 20s, where I started really fully comprehending a book and appreciating it. That was my early 20s. And then I kind of faded off books now, and I am absolutely obsessed with audios. Audios to me is the part where I'm not having to do anything much but lay back and receive, put myself in Shavasana, the corpse pose / what I call conscious pose, still pose. I mean, so many names we can give it, but it's when you're consciously conscious of your consciousness and you're laying still in the body. At least that's how I think of it. And so the idea to sit in and listen to that inner voice, and at the same time, while you're listening to an audio, I find that you can literally know what you agree with. If it resonates, wonderful. Then here's your moment, save. And if it doesn't, let it pass. You don't have to save it. But when you're in such a still way of receiving it, I find that to be very, very helpful. That's for the people who don't love to read. Obviously, books are, I don't know if we could ever find anything that sparks our imagination as much as books. They're just phenomenal because you get to interplay with the writer's words and you're able to then put on your own imagination of what the writer interpreted in your way. So books are just incredible. However, audio is where it's at for me at this point. Going now to other tools that I've used for helping my inner child. Now, we know yoga is my personal deliverance. Yoga came in and just took me out of what I would say my pain body was so high. And when I met yoga, it gave me the opportunity to start to just remove all of that pain out of the body. I believe yoga works cellularly. That's what I've experienced for myself. However, in everything we're doing, there is a bit of guidance that we have to give in, and first of all, you have to do it, and then of course you could guide yourself through it, because things are going to come up to the surface, right? They just when you think you've cleansed yourself. This is why you don't want to go on any righteous path where, oh, I'm this, I'm that, because it doesn't matter how far you've delved into any of this wound cleaning, womb cleaning, the woman, you have to know that you still have more to go. We just do. It's as if just your generation alone is one level of cleansing. But when you're talking about generations before you, these things can take lifetimes. So patience, courage, that's a big one for me. Having courage to consistently go back in and look at the muck and slice away at it bit by bit. So physical activities, it doesn't have to be yoga. I recommend yoga, meditation. What don't I do? I like yoga, I like Pilates, I like dancing, you name it. Anything physical, you more than likely can get me to do it. And you can find what that is for you. Everybody has their own niche. Find out what works for me. And the way you know if it works for you, you usually feel exhilarated after doing it. You feel good. Now, let's put that in perspective. When you're choosing whatever is going to help you physically, know that in the beginning, it may not be something you like. It may not be. It could be the things you just really don't like to do. AKA running. Not my favorite. Do I do it? Absolutely. How often? That's another question. But I, at one point, even mastered running to the point where I can actually say I know how to sprint, I know how to run, and all of that. But I must say, I don't like running. I think it is laborious. It is really intense. But when you hit that zone, you really can see how it is good for you. Of course, what do you think I'm going to recommend if you choose running as your healing physical tool to heal your inner child? Well, I must say you must put it with some extension. Balance yourself with the counteracting, because running compresses the joints. So you need something to extend. So now you got 2 physical activities if you're a runner. So find something though, or do a few. Why not? You have time. So some people are going to say they don't have time, won't they? Well, guess what? You only have time. That's all you have on planet Earth. Every day you wake up and that 24 hours, which they charted as, listen, that's what you got. And it's up to you how you want to choose to use it. Me personally, I like to chill and hear my own self, listen to my own inner voice. That's not a joke. That's what I do every single day, and reprogram myself to become a better person, not just for me. Me first. First self, second self, third self, fourth self, 5 self, what left over still for self. But then I will overflow into, obviously, first and foremost, I want to overflow in my family, then my community, and so on, so on. We all have choices where we want to put our energy. So that's my recommendation. Something physical that you're going to sit with and really, really get into it. Commit yourself for 3 months, minimum 3 months. And in those 3 months, chart yourself. Month number 1, how do I feel? Month number 2, what else did you come across that was difficult, and how did you solve it? Number 3 month, am I going to continue this? The answer is going to be, obviously, of course, you want to continue. You want to keep consistency in anything you do. What's consistent? Well, you need sets and reps, which means how many times a week you're going to do it, how long. Really commit to doing those things. Now, meditation. Oh my Lord, I cannot tell you. Life-saving meditation. Nothing big. Just simply sit and shut down any sounds around you that might be distracting, or use the sound to help you, because sometimes you can't shut down the sounds. There are times you cannot control the external environment. And does that mean you don't meditate? You still meditate. One of the things I say about meditation, and this is my truth, usually if you hear me say it, it's because I probably live it, more than likely. I really try not to talk about things I don't live, because then I don't really know how to convey it properly. So one of the things I say about meditation, if you can meditate in an airport and get to the point where you do not know that there's a bunch of people chattering and doing all sorts of things around you, and you are just zoned inward and feeling your vibration, that's when you know you can meditate. So I use that all the time at the airport. One of the things I remind people, don't be like me. Once I missed my flight. I never did it again though. I never did it again. But once I was meditating so much, I did not hear the boarding. Nothing at all. Just sit there. And my thing was, didn't somebody see me and could have come and say hello? That could have never went over in Jamaica. Somebody would have been there and be like, excuse me. Actually, someone did that to me in meditation once on the beach. They came in Jamaica, of course, and pushed me in my forehead just like that and said, open your eye before somebody come and thief you. In Jamaica, that means open your eyes before someone come and steal you. It doesn't make any sense. Any which way, I remember looking at the guy and smiling, because how can you be mad at something like that? I just thought, did that man just push me in my third eye? Do you think he hit me in my third eye? I think not. I think Jamaicans, they're just the way we are. We are very unique. And so this was his way of saying hello. Push me out of my meditation. Anyway, back to our inner child healing. So make some choices for what you're going to use to heal. Physical activity, affirmations, meditation, positive thoughts. Oh my. I remember when I first heard suicidal thoughts or negative thoughts, the things people hear every day. Don't be afraid to face your shadow self. Oh, it's there in every one of us. It is actually very useful, like anger, when channeled positively, right? So we can take what is there in the shadow self. When you hear suicidal thoughts, these thoughts can be reprogrammed. That's just overly filled with toxicity, and now you want to check out. Why? You deserve to be here. You got here on this beautiful planet. You know, this is a gift to be here on this planet. And you got that gift. Think about all the sperms you had to beat to the finish line to be here. You deserve to stay. Sorry, it's your kingdom. So go and rule like a queen or a king upon it. But first you got to clean out any kind of suicidal thoughts. And how do you do that? You go right back to your physical activities. You go right back to your affirmations. Every negative thought, whether suicidal or negative, it could simply be something like, I'm such a fool. Don't say these words. These words are not productive. When you hear them, though, you can put in 10. I recommend, this is how I first did it, 10 positive thoughts to counteract that one. And then I remember whichever that was playing, and I would say, let's use the example I gave. You're such a fool. Jamaica, they say a lot of mean things to you when you were growing up, at least my generation. I'm telling you what I experienced. And they would say things like, stupid, you stupid. Penny, you know, we're aggressive in that way. But when you take that in and you store it, so if you start to say things like that, it's usually being repeated in there because you heard it somewhere and you program it. You turn it 10 different positive. I am so wise. Only the wisdom within me make decision for my life. I bow my head to the wise woman I am becoming. I am wise. Start to speak to the opposite of foolish, because you're not. Nobody really is foolish. We do things that's probably not productive, but we're not fools. So start to reprogram yourself with that. Anything you hear that you don't think is feeling good, change it. But you have to affirm it at least. Mine was 10 times. For every one I heard, but I'm vigilant. So you don't probably have to go as hard. Maybe you need 3. I don't know. But you have to be the one who determines. You must eradicate the negative thoughts. Every single one of them. And it's going to take time. All of these stuff take time. But what is evident throughout it is evidence that you're doing it right. And let me tell you what I mean by that. As you're doing these reprogramming of the mind, you will find evidence around you just when you probably don't expect it, you least expect it. You'll get these little evidence that it's working. It's working. And then you go for the next thing you're going to reprogram. Your evidence is going to show up serendipitously. You know, you will see it. How do I explain serendipitous? If you don't understand what I mean when I say serendipitous, it really means it just happening in such coincidence per se, and it's just things we always say you just can't make these up. Those are the things that there is serendipity. It's just happening in its own divine order, and when it happens, you recognize it. You really do. So those, again, physical activities, affirmations, meditation, reprogramming the mind with positive thoughts,